and start becoming defenders of executive. Mr. Speaker, that is wrong. Mr. Speaker, I also expected that the president will talk about in specific terms, not in general terms, the issue of punitive taxation in this country. Mr. Speaker, there is no country in this world which has grown by overtaxing its people. Overtaxation will affect the saving, it will affect innovation, it will affect investment, it will even lead to increased deficits. It will also discourage work. So we cannot say that we want to increase taxes so that we have more revenue, so that we can do well as a country. That is wrong. Already we are receiving reports of capital flight. We are receiving reports of closure of companies and therefore loss of jobs for our people. Mr. Speaker, these are issues that I expected the president to talk about. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of inclusivity, non-discrimination, which is one of the values of Article 10. We expected the president, because he was appearing before a house of honor, to talk about what his deputy president has been telling Kenyans, that Kenya is a company with the shareholders, that some Kenyans are bigger shareholders than others. The president kept quiet. And yet, the second in command, the person who would take over as the president if something happens to the president, is the one promoting the culture of discrimination, the culture of non-inclusivity, ethnicity. And Mr. Speaker, we have had reports that recruitment to KDF, recruitment to Teacher Service Commission, recruitment to KRA was done in a very discriminative manner. That some communities benefited than others. Mr. President kept quiet on this. These are serious issues that people wanted to hear about. When we talk about international obligations, Mr. Speaker, the bigger issue of Haiti, that Kenya is going to send forces to Haiti. This is a very, considering the situation in Haiti, we expected the president to shed light on that, because this is one of the obligations, and he kept mum about it. He has already made a decision that the country is going to send forces to Haiti, and yet the Constitution, under Article 240, requires parliamentary approval. He has done that because he knows that probably some of us here are just voting machines. He will make a decision and come here and put a motion, and the voting machines will vote. Mr. Speaker, my friend Matthew wants to disrupt me. I want to tell him that he has just walked in. He found me talking. He should allow me to finish. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sotsi, there is an intervention by Senator John Matthew. What's your point of order, John Matthew?
Mr. Speaker, of course, I would not have wanted to interrupt my very good friend, Senator Sotsi, but I would want your guidance on whether he is in order to refer to honorable colleagues as voting machines.
Indeed, you're out of order to that extent, Senator Sotsi. You need to withdraw that and apologize. And two, for your information, you recall that there was a motion tabled before a report, that was tabled before the House from the National Assembly and this House on the deployment of forces to Haiti, which was debated before the floor of the House. You also need to be aware about that, even as you make the comments you've just made. As regards the point of order by Senator Medu, you need to withdraw and apologize. That is the directive from the chair, and take note of the second comments on the Haiti matter. What's your point of order, Minority Leader?
Speaker, you've just noticed that my colleague Metho just walked in. He did not even want to listen to Osotsi. And saying people are being called voting machine. I do not think, Mr. Speaker, that Mr. Osotsi meant any senator inside here as a voting machine. He simply said a voting machine is where we put our vote. But we are not voting machines ourselves. Huh? Mr. Speaker, it must be understood here. By telling Osotsi to withdraw because he has said voting machine, I think it's most unfair. Simply because I do not think Mr. Osotsi either pointed at any senator, and if so, then I do not think, Mr. Speaker, every time the opposition speaks, it's like, it looks like to some this right to speak, have a right to speak our mind. I'm glad my brother Khalwale has been able to realize, because this is debating chamber. If we keep on gagging, and that is why we are where we are now, because no one, we have made this house, Mr. Speaker, not interesting.
You've been heard.
Yeah.
Assume your seat.
It's not interesting anymore because members here don't want, they are not here. Look at the house.
Senator Madzayo, order.
Look at the house.
Order, Senator Madzayo.
Mr. Speaker, with a lot of,
Order,
with
Senator
tremendous
Madzayo,
respect.
Assume your seat. Your point has been taken, and I respond to it right away.
With a lot of
I'll
respect,
respond to
Mr.
it right
Speaker,
away.
as a leader of the House,
Resume your
yeah,
seat.
as a leader of the House, I'm saying with tremendous respect, restore the energies that senators have to come
Resume
back
your
to the
seat,
House.
Senator Madzayo.
Yeah?
Resume your seat.
We are spoiling this House. I
Order,
can tell
Senator
you, we are
Madzayo.
destroying this House.
Order,
If that
Senator
is the
Madzayo.
attitude.
Order, Senator Madzayo. I want to just note the fact that you also just came in. You haven't been seated the whole of this afternoon, Senator Madzayo. I listened very well to the comments by Senator Osotsi as regards to the comments about voting machine. Senator Osotsi, you are directed by the chair to withdraw the comment, making reference to members as voting machines.
Some of us probably
Statement I'm saying, and I directed so.
Mr. to be the voting machine aspect. But you know, I'm an expert in the, and I know what a machine does. A machine is a gadget that is directed what to do, and it does exactly what it's directed to do.